It's a great day here at Will to Win Gaming's YouTube channel. I am a semi-host of Kek-Filet, and today I have the William Craddock with me. How you doing, Will?
I'm good. I basically destroyed CatCast, so I'm making a full-time Will to Win gamer.
To be honest, I do want to talk about Kekcast. I had Batsu lined up, and then he fell apart because he's just too busy. I need to find another guest. That's all. And so
That man does too much.
Yeah, that I was a mistake of me waiting for him, so I will no longer wait for you. But respectively, I will do a Kekcast soon. But it's funny you bring that up. Today we're just doing a quick video on pre-release for set 4 and kind of
Maybe
more of a
quick.
directions and guide. It might be quick, it might be long, but well, let's just jump into it so people don't have to waste too much time skipping through the video.
Absolutely.
I did want to bring up just the quick format rules for the tournament. The link for these format rules will be in the description below. But the main thing is obviously they want you to have fun in this whole format. That's the whole point of it. But we're going to go there to farm some cards so we can get some money. And
absolutely, I want to win.
Yeah, we're gonna win. We want to ruin everyone else's fun by playing the game, apparently. So you'll get 6 packs. You can bring your own leader, and you should bring your own John. I do want to say, I think at OP04 or OP05, they stopped putting John in packs. So make sure you bring some Dawn with you.
Really? I didn't know that.
I heard there's no longer Dawn in some packs. I don't know if it's OP04 or OP05, but at some point they will stop putting Dawn in packs. I don't know if that's Japanese or English, but that's an interesting thing. I know that
weird.
For some of your events, some of your locals may already be having their own rules. You can't play Kid Leader, you can't play Zoro Leader, or you can only play with the leaders you pull or from that event, which is kind of shaky. Whatever you do, try to still follow some of these guidelines based off of that, but we're going to try to min-max as hard as we can.
If you open Rebecca, like my only leader's Rebecca, I guess I lose.
Well, I think that's meaning like if you pull other packs from other things, you can like do that, but that would be really shitty, right? You should be able to like pull that, and so I've definitely in 6 packs. I haven't pulled leader before in 6 packs.
Oh yeah, just follow the rules. I mean, it's up to your local shop, but hopefully they just follow the rules that are in place.
Yeah. With that, you build a 40 card deck, meaning there is actually not a lot of options off of 6 packs. So you're gonna have a lot of options that are kind of bad. But I want to say there are sideboard rules. You can at any point switch out any card except for your leader. That's up to your shop. But except for your leader, you can switch out any card in between games. Okay.
You're just in the middle of your match. You're like, oh, this card sucks.
Yeah, I've definitely had a card before that had like no counter on it, and I decided to put in like a card that had a counter on it. I think it was actually Magellan when it first came out in OP02. So
Magellan's busted.
Yeah, it was, but at the time it was bricked in my hand. It would have lost me the game, so I said I'm not going to play that. So I will say there are some special rules for this. And unless you're playing a specific format, things like leader name does matter. So let's say, for example, you pull a sugar, and the sugar says if your leader is a Don Quixote Pirates, your leader needs to be a Don Quixote Pirates in order to fulfill that skill. So
that card's really good. Just let you know.
So sugar and also things like Baroque Works, just keep in mind that you may want to play around that. But without further ado, I'm kind of gonna let Will go over a lot of these specifics to the card game and specifically to what cards that you may be pulling and what leaders to play. So I'm actually going to start with leaders. Will, did you want to basically take over from here?
Yeah, we'll talk about the leaders. First and foremost, I have actually not used Kid yet in the pre-release. I will point that out. I've only used Zoro. That mostly tends to be because of the cards I've pulled. I would say Kid would be my go-to for the average card pool. Like the average card pool that you're going to see at pre-release, I would say Kid is going to be the best leader. Because honestly, nothing really stops 2 12K attacks to finish out a game in the pre-release format. Like, it's just so good. The reason I played Zoro is because I had a lot of vanillas, right? I had a lot of 2-cost 4K vanillas, and Zoro's ability just kind of leans itself to that, making your board bigger. So it's really up to what you pull at the pre-release, but going in, these would be the two leaders I'd be looking at. Like, yeah, I'm probably gonna play Kid. I'm probably
Mhm.
gonna play Zoro, and I'd
Okay.
say for the most part, everyone at your shop's gonna be thinking the same thing.
Just to clarify, you're saying if you pull a lot of low cost cards, it's okay to play Zoro, but in this
Yeah,
set, it seems to be that there's not as many as there was in previous sets.
right. I don't expect as many Zoros in this set as I did for the last one, because the last set there seemed there were a lot of like 2 for 4Ks. It seems like
Hmm.
there was a ton of them,
Hmm.
which is so good with Zoro. Right? Any
Hmm.
other leader, it's dog poop. But
Yeah.
with Zoro, it's so
But
free.
in this, there's like 3 5 7s. There's a couple 6 8s.
Right.
So,
There's already things that are already good, so they don't really need Zoro's ability to get better. So that
mhm.
kind of makes Kid a little better, right? Because you just swing efficiently with your characters, then use all your
Mhm.
Dawn leader and attack for like 9 and 9 or 12 and 12 or what have you.
Yeah. I do want to speak on set three. You were talking about you and DD maybe even used Ace in the previous set because you pulled a lot of events and the event that goes with Ace.
Yeah. So DD played Ace at our pre-release. She ended up opening 2 Flame Emperors, which yeah, 2 Flame Emperors, which was insane.
Hmm.
The So our shop actually, and I hate that they did this. So for our pre-release, they took all the boxes, and this is from 2 separate cases, and shuffled them together. Right.
Hmm.
So we actually had a kid, our pre-release, who had 3 big moms in his deck.
Yeah.
3. And he played Katakuri, of course, because you have to. But like I was just like, well, did he open 2 Flame Emperors, which that could naturally happen in a
Yeah.
box. But I don't know. I don't even think you can open 3 big moms in a box naturally.
No, not really. I think that's so funny though. But
It's
is
stupid.
that how most they don't just get loose packs for pre-release? Isn't there like a pre-release set, or just do stores just say fuck it and open boxes and
It,
does it
it's
matter?
open. Generally, like for me, what I would do is I would, because there's 24 packs in a box, so that's enough for 4 people.
Hmm.
So I'd take a box, I'd shuffle the packs together and make a brick of 6 packs and give them to a
Does
person.
shuffling the packs really matter? I know people do that, but
It
you
it
know,
doesn't matter as far as we've found so far, but whenever a set comes out that might have like
manga, yeah.
pre-seeded boxes, like then I don't want to be like, oh, you guys took all
Hmm.
the good packs for yourself
Okay,
because you didn't shuffle. Like
yeah,
it just prevents
yeah.
problems.
Sorry
Like you
about
can't.
that. Yeah. So, okay. Okay. Well, you were also talking to me earlier about Croc as an option, Blue Croc,
Yeah,
and
Croc is an option. He's pretty good. He's pretty solid.
yeah,
Um,
I find it's kind of struggles, but the problem is that's why it's good now. You have a lot of cards that say if your leader is a Baroque Works card, and
right.
that's where I would probably maybe play this at least for fun, but probably it might be actually a smart idea to play a Blue Croc, a pure Blue Croc, just because of the 5 life and he's a Baroque Works, regardless of his skill.
And his
So.
his ability is can be relevant if you're having a game where there's a lot of back and forth.
Mhm.
If you play like 5 for 7, and they play
Yeah,
their 5 for 7, all of a sudden their 5 for
I
7's back in their hand.
I think that's really big brain because there's a lot of 5 costs in the game right now.
Yeah,
I would say be careful with the skill. Don't use it until you have like 10 Dawn.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Like 9 or 10 Dawn is the earliest. If you use it on your like 6 Dawn turn, you're just gonna lose.
you just yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Another thing I did want to bring up, and this is maybe a me touch. If you end up pulling a sugar, this is a super rare. You're probably not going to pull this. Okay. But if you end up pulling a sugar, consider running a Don Quixote Pirates leader card, which is just the 5 cost blue one. And not for his skill. And actually, if you had an extra Don to waste just to reveal the next top card, see what you'll draw, maybe. That's so stupid.
Nah, you
Yeah.
can't waste the Dawn.
Yeah, you can't
Like,
waste
no.
a Don. Let's be honest. Yeah, it's a Don Quixote Pirates leader, so you can use things that say that. There's a couple other cards that say if your leader's a Don Quixote Pirates, it might be a meme. Okay, it might be a meme. Sugar isn't that
Absolutely
broken.
a meme.
Yeah, Sugar isn't that broken in a pre-release format. But I
I,
wanted to at least bring it up.
Sugar can be really good. It's very it's like a skill tester, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it can be very good if your opponent really doesn't understand how good it can be. Most of the time, they're just gonna play something and attack Sugar for 5, right? But with blockers, it kind of muddies the waters, and it might stick around for a few turns.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, let's just go into the general card pool, right? And I wanted to actually talk about. Is there any commons that you wanted to just highlight? Out of
Usopp for sure.
these.
I mean, Usopp's uncommon, but Usopp is definitely just like super solid.
Hmm.
If you kill it, it kills something back, and it's 4 for 5 and has counter. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a 4 for 6, unfortunately, but 4 for 5 is good enough, and
Hmm.
it knocks something out on its way
Yeah.
out.
I
So
I do want to preface. I think there's some general rules and guidelines we should go by. I think that one of those rules is if you draw a 2K counter, put all of them in your deck, unless you have more than 10, which is probably still okay.
yeah,
um,
absolutely. You're probably going to be playing every 2K counter you
yeah,
get.
you're probably gonna get like 2 to 8, and
Yeah.
the funny thing is, you can literally ask all your opponents while you're drafting, how many 2Ks you pulled? That's crazy. I pulled 2. Can you believe that? So you can kind of have an idea, and that can even give you an idea to mess with your opponents later to know if if you should swing 7 or 6 at them, because 6 is actually a magic number now in this card
Yeah.
game.
You're like,
So
I'm not telling you nothing. That's what I'm telling my opponent. Like
yeah.
definitely like I'm gonna play all my 2Ks and I'm gonna play all my vanillas is
Hmm.
pretty much a general rule
Hmm.
going to pre-release. There I don't think there's enough vanillas that you're gonna
Hmm.
pull. I mean, we're talking about the 3 for 5s, the
Three
four
for
for six.
fives, 4 for 6, 5 for 7, 6 for 8. Yeah.
Yeah. One for 3 is a little different. Like 1 for 3 does not enter that card quality
Yeah.
pool. But all the other ones, you're pretty much going to play all of them. I don't think you're
Mhm.
going to pull enough that you're going to have to cut
Mhm.
any. I don't think there's enough to cut
Yeah.
them.
No, I don't. I don't know how many blockers are actually in this set, but I do want to talk about. You don't. I've won a tournament before playing 0 blockers in this because I drew none. So what was I supposed to do, right?
Oh yeah, you have no
But
choice.
I've also drawn like 10 blockers before in that same format and that same thing, and I decided to only play 8 because it was just too many. Because they're not really offensive cards. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Yeah, I don't think there's so many block like because some of the blockers like Kung Fu Dugong, like you're obviously not
Mhm.
playing. I don't care how many you open, do not play this card.
You can if you have nothing else to play and it's a 1K counter and you have more than one. It can be cute if you
Uh,
need to.
I think the
Um,
card is cute because it's got a
yeah.
Kung Fu Dugong
It-
on it,
there
but I
might
wouldn't.
there might be like a slot. This happens to all my pre releases. There's like a few cards. I have room for like 3 garbage cards that just have 1K counter.
Yeah,
And
that can
yeah,
happen for sure.
yeah. So I think that's a good idea. So you're saying general guideline, play all your 2K counters, play all your blockers, just keep an eye if you pull too many, you have better choices, which is kind of hard in this format,
Yeah.
then maybe play those. Now, as far as events too, I do want to talk about events that have counter in this set. There are a ton of events that have
Yeah.
counter, and
A lot of playable events in this set.
a lot of
Absolutely.
playable events. So play every event that has counter, and also maybe even consider playing the weak do not have the right to choose how they die. Just so
I
you
love this
can do
card
that.
because what it's called. I love this card because of the name, and
Mhm.
I think this will be like one of the most underrated events. What rarity is this card? Is it
This is a
rare?
common. It's a common.
It's a common.
It's a common.
I would. I'm
It's
gonna
not that
play this
good.
card.
It's not that good.
I'm gonna play.
I'll
Look,
play it in
people.
pre-release. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, pre-release.
It,
Obviously pre-release.
it's basically a red rock, but you can use it on your opponent's turn as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And
And it rests leaders. Like that's a very very important effect
yeah.
because it does rest leaders.
Yeah. Now, that's another thing I do want to talk about resting leaders. I know that we're kind of going back and forth, but there is a super rare in this game, the Don Quixote do Flamingo.
Oh my
He
goodness! If
is
I
gonna.
open this card,
If you open this card, you're doing really good shit. You should hopefully win if you pull this card and you draw it. The main thing is Kid actually can play around this by just restanding himself once.
yep. Kid gets to stand and hit you for 12 even if you play it. So that's just something to keep in mind, right?
Yeah, so maybe that's a reason to play Kid, all right, if you were thinking about it.
Now, there's some strong super rares just looking at it. Like that Kaido and that Croc are both very strong super rares.
If you pull this Croc, I think that's a reason to play 8 cost the blue Croc because it requires
Oh,
Leo via
absolutely.
Baroque works.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. 8 for 9, gain life. Absolutely.
yeah, so that might be the case with that. And just I mean, these are just rares and super rares we're going over right now, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of search cards. You have you have this Vivi and this Don Quixote Rosinante. You may not play either of these regardless. Maybe the
I don't think so.
Rosinante is cute, but I don't think it's playable.
I would
Um,
play Rosinante if I was playing a very specific leader. A very specific leader. And his name is Queen.
oh, I guess so. Yeah, if you draw enough 8 costs, maybe you can go off for that too. We didn't actually go over that leader, actually. So let's go back to that leader. You're saying Queen might be an option here. Can you tell me why?
Okay, so here's the thing about Queen. So Queen has 4 life, which is obviously just very detrimental. Like, keep that in mind. But if your deck is correctly proportioned with like 2Ks, blockers, and vanillas, Queen's leader ability can just be attach a Dawn, draw a card. Right? Attach a Dawn, attack for 6, draw a card. And if you happen to get something big in play, now it's gaining a life, which in limited, which is in pre-release, is insane. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you get a life every turn in pre-release, I don't see how your opponent could win. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
I don't see how they could beat you game. And now this is very specific. Like your deck has to be right for it. But I do think Queen is very good for people who tend to play control decks, like I do. It's definitely a leader you can look into if you get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
blockers in 2Ks for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, great. And I guess let's just jump back into this. Nothing really, jumps out at me as like these commons and rares. They're pretty all self-explanatory. If you get a
Yeah,
card that's like this Daddy Masterson, I know it doesn't have counter, but that might be worth it for the
yeah.
tempo controls alone.
His effect is very good. The fact that he can just swing for 5 or swing for 6 and not get hit back is very good.
Is very
You
strong.
know,
He's not removable, basically, by no
you know what
means.
kills it? You know what kills it?
Yeah.
The weak can't choose how they die.
Yeah, yeah. Also, another thing is Isoni, right? I'm sure you can only play this the combo. Maybe don't play this, right? If you
No,
if you have the combo, even if you do have the combo, but
no, I couldn't
um,
play it.
I mean, maybe if you have Queen out, it's an 8 cost. You can get that out
No,
early. Oh my gosh, how
no.
early can you get this card out?
I mean, Playgrounds puts out immediately, right?
Yeah, you could like do that. Like, no, there's no way you can't Queen skill on like turn 3 on like
You'd
6
have
times.
to have you'd have like have to have so many Playgrounds on Isonies to even
Yeah, you'd
consider
have to
that.
like get a nice Uni somehow off and then a playground. Yeah, sorry. We're talking bullshit, guys.
Yeah,
Basically for me.
but like I
But
said, there are a lot of good events like Dragon Twister Demolishing. I saw that somewhere down here.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's just a 4K counter. Like, there's gonna be a lot of
And,
these cards that have that.
but
Um,
it's event its trigger is also super relevant. Like it
mhm,
has one of the best triggers where you can bounce something that costs
yeah,
6 or less. It's like absolutely insane.
yeah. And really consider any card also that has trigger. You can even put these cards to the side. Any card that has trigger, maybe even consider that because those cards are very powerful. You can definitely win games off of trigger. There's basically a whole deck based off of that. And
Absolutely.
so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you could definitely take advantage of that. I've definitely won games because I played so many events in that ace deck I had played, and I just hit a trigger and it just drew me 2 cards basically, right?
Yeah, there's a
Um,
ton of good triggers. Like just looking at there's Truno Bastardo, things like Bastard Sword or something like that.
mhm,
The Diablo Jambe Ju shot. I mean, that card is a 3 for a 6K and plus it
mhm.
draws a card. Like there's a lot of good triggers in this.
Yeah. So if there's a lot of good triggers, really, you're probably gonna win and lose a game by triggers. You're probably gonna lose a game from a trigger if I was.
Most likely.
Yeah, I got hit with a
Most likely.
tropical torment one time, and I was actually I was triggered. So like I thought there was no way I could lose this game, and then I got hit by that early in the game, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
You're like,
So,
oh.
but yeah. So I guess everything pretty much is noted. Is there any tips as far as swinging at your opponent, or maybe even swinging at your opponent's character? What would a normal first 3 or 4 turns look like if you were to go first or second?
So if I'm going first, I'm expecting, a 3 for 5 ideally, swing 5 with their leader. Then my opponent, their ideal turn is going to be a 6K. And honestly, after this is where the game kind of takes off, right? Because if I swing 5 with my
Mm-hmm.
with my 5K for character, he's got an easy crackback for 7 on it to kill it, right? That's
Yeah.
very easy. You're not going to counter out of 8 in this format. And then he has 5 Dawn to play a 5 for 7 vanilla. So he's just very efficient. So honestly, besides those first 2 vanillas coming down, I think games can go anywhere. And that's what I really like about pre-release. Some people
Mhm.
decide to take, the choice, I'm just going to attack my opponent's leader. I'm just going to
Mhm.
play kid, I'm attack their leader, and I'm not going to worry about anything else. And I think that's a perfectly valid strategy. And then people like me, I'm like, well, I'm just going to attack your character so you're out of cards, and
Mhm.
hopefully I can live off the back of my huge hand and a couple of
Okay.
blockers. So
Yeah.
it really goes either way. I've seen games just all aggro. I've seen
Mhm.
very long defensive games. It
Mhm.
really just comes down to the players and kind
Okay.
of the card pulls as well.
So maybe consider two strategy. I guess there's three strategies here. You could go balls to the wall, so swing at leader, and then hope to get that advantage just by winning the game by a race, right? And
Yeah.
then the other way, something I like to do sometimes, I'll play down a card and I won't attack with my character like you said, because it makes it too easy for them to remove it. And
Right.
this is kind of where a lot of the top players come in, and they know when to just take damage and to have a big hand and to have a bigger field. And sometimes that's not swinging with the character, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
maybe consider maybe on like your 3 or 4 or 5 6 on turn, play a character, and then the next turn don't attack with that character. Just play another character to develop, and then you'll have this kind of game of chicken with your opponent who swings with their characters first,
Yeah.
so you can remove
Absolutely.
it. So consider that, and then maybe just play around with how that might be. And it may look really bad at first, but trust me, when you try it, you'll kind of see how powerful it can be, to be in a comfortable spot. So
I would say on average, and I think it's interesting, it applies to pre-release and most of One Piece as well, that every top player, if you're watching their game and they're playing against someone who's newer, the top player probably always looks like they're losing in the first 5 turns of a game. Like I feel like that's true. Like if you just look at the board, it almost always looks like the top player is losing, but they're
mhm.
actually just usually way far ahead. And I think it'll really shine in this pre-release format where
Mhm.
you can't do anything you want. The top players are going to look like they're losing for the most part, but they're most likely just ahead based on taking hits and knowing how to like clear their opponent's board.
Okay.
I think it's very interesting. Like I would
Mhm.
say the average top player looks like they're losing when they're actually winning the game.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good mental. I did want to ask this really important thing, and you can tell me if there's any deviates or caveats. Do you go first or second?
I would say, depending, it's very deck dependent. If I don't have any 3 for 5s, I'm gonna go second. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna play my 4 for 6s. If I don't have any 4 for 6s, but I have a bunch of 5 for 7s, I'm gonna go first. Right? Like it really depends on the curve of your deck.
Okay.
Previously, I always went second because I had a lot of 2 for 4s and I played Zoro. So I want to play that turn one guy every time.
Okay. Got it. So deck dependent. Look how many cards you have.
Yeah.
There probably isn't a wrong choice. There's
I
just
don't think so.
they're just more of a right choice, and that's going to cause,
Right.
people always get stressed out by like, oh, do I go first or second? People ask that in normal games. In pre-release, they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, take a look at that. I would say going second is also normally a good idea because you get to draw an extra card. But I've definitely seen going first decks do some pretty good work, especially if you're able to get down that 5 cost on curve. That's
Yeah. The five
pretty
for seven.
nutty.
Ugh, it's so big.
Like,
Because it's the same thing we were talking about, right? Because instead of tagging my 5, because I don't want to get clocked by the 6K, now their 6K is going to get clocked by my 7K if they attack with it, right?
mhm.
That's kind of like the game of chicken you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, when you have a 5 cost down first, right? Your game of chicken is so much stronger because your chicken's so tall now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you had a bunch of 4Ks out, then yeah, you can easily just kill them with investing 1 DAW on your leader and even just using Eustace Kid skill, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, take a look at that. There's going to be times too where you may even want to like load up your leader and just swing big at one of their characters if you need to. And
Oh, yeah. It's just
um
removal, right?
it's just removal. Well, it sounds kind of funny because I'll use 6 Dawn and a card to remove a card with with an event, right? But
Yeah.
it sounds crazy to put 6 Dawn on my leader and swing at a card. But it's actually cheaper.
Yeah,
right?
do what you got.
It
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
cost
cost
you a card.
cards.
It doesn't cost
It's
a
6 on.
card.
Yeah,
It just costs you 6 Dawn and you're a leader swing. So
absolutely.
it's just kind of funny how that works. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, did you have any other comments, closing statements, or you want to bring up about that?
I probably did. Oh yeah, I was just like just a little bit like every video. We're just gonna talk about the Patreon a little bit. I appreciate everyone that's subscribed, and I like to throw out that next Friday, so not this Friday, next Friday, which is what day exactly?
That is on the 22nd.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
22nd, we will be doing our monthly giveaway. I'll be giving away a box of OP04. All you have to do to be eligible is to be subscribed to our Patreon. It doesn't matter what tier, you get a free entry. And then just because I'm feeling generous, right now we're at like $3,900. If we get over 4K in Patrons before the 22nd, I'm gonna give away a second box.
2 boxes guaranteed,
2 boxes.
basically at this point, right?
Yeah, 2 boxes.
So yeah,
if
we do want to say we do have a little bit more exclusive content on the Patreon as well.
yeah, absolutely.
And we did go over quite a bit in this pre-release, but we did have a little bit more advice on there for pre-release, and especially for set 4. We have deck lists, what you should be doing if you want to win, if you don't want to play White Weird and you want to win. So it's just these sort of things, right? So definitely check out the
absolutely.
Patreon, and you can always just delve your head in there and read what's going on. And then if you ever need to, you can unsub. But again, I'm not saying you should, just saying that I do want to thank all our patrons for being such good fans of us.
Yeah, to build on that, like I am taking every Queen player in the Patreon and on the Discord, like we're all in the lab together. We're trying to break Queen because it's almost there. It's almost there. But I love Queen, and that's one of the things I've been working on pretty hardcore. Okay. So if you're a Queen player, need some info, come to us.
Appreciate it. And I'll make sure to leave all of our descriptions and everything below and after in our patrons. But yeah, thank you all for watching the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck in your pre-releases.
Yep. Good luck, everyone. See you all Saturday.
Ciao.